The day everyone gave up on me was the day I started winning. For years, I was a man chasing a dream, and for years, I was just a man failing. The sound of a door closing, the cold silence of a phone call, the look of disappointment in my father's eyes, these were the things that defined my life. But it was in that complete, utter silence that I found my voice. It was in that complete, utter darkness that I found my light. My name is Leo, and I'm 32 years old now, a man who runs a successful tech company. But for a very long time, I was just a man with a dream that no one believed in. My dream was a simple one, a new kind of software for graphic designers. It was an idea that came to me in a flash of inspiration, a moment of pure, unadulterated passion. I was so sure it was a good idea. I was so sure it was going to change everything. My world was so full of hope and possibility, a bright, beautiful canvas of a future I was so sure I was going to paint. But the world had other plans. The first failure was in my late 20s. I was 27, a hotshot programmer with a big ego and a burning sense of purpose. I quit my job, drained my savings, and spent a year and a half pouring every waking hour into my first attempt. My dad, Arthur, who was in his early 60s, a practical, no-nonsense man who had worked the same job for 40 years, never approved. He saw my dream as a fantasy, an expensive hobby for a child who refused to grow up. Every time I went home, he'd just shake his head, a quiet, disappointed look in his eyes that was more painful than any lecture. My friend, Julian, who was the same age, was my anchor. He was a kind, gentle man, and he was the only person who truly believed in me. He'd listen to me talk for hours, his face full of quiet, patient wisdom. He was the one who told me to keep going. He was the one who told me that a dream isn't a dream until you fight for it. My girlfriend, Clara, was the sun in my life. She was 31 then, a smart, beautiful, compassionate woman who saw the fire in my heart. She had a steady job, a neat, predictable life, and she was the one who helped me with money when I had none. She would just look at me, a soft, loving look in her eyes, and she would tell me that she believed in me. Her belief was the fuel that kept me going, a small, quiet flame in a dark, cold world. I launched the first version of the software, and it was a complete, utter failure. It was buggy, it was slow, and no one wanted it. My heart broke. I felt like a fraud. I felt like a complete failure. I had lost everything. I had lost my savings. I had lost my self-respect. I was a man who had nothing left. I went back to my parents' house, a complete, utter failure. My dad just looked at me, a quiet, melancholic look in his eyes. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. I knew what he meant. He was disappointed. I spent the next few months living a quiet, unremarkable life. I got a small job at a coffee shop, and I would just work, my mind a blank, my heart a quiet, sad place. I was so ashamed. I was so afraid to dream again. But my friend, Julian, never gave up on me. He would just show up, every Friday, and he would just sit there. He would talk to me about his life, about his dreams, about his fears. He was a quiet, constant presence, a small, quiet island of hope in a sea of despair. Clara was still in my life, and she would just sit with me, her hand in mine, and she would tell me that it was okay. She would tell me that I was a good man. Her love was my shield, my anchor, my home. I decided to try again. I had no money, no resources, no hope. All I had was a broken heart and a small, quiet sense of determination. I was 30 now. I started to work on a new version of the software, a simpler, more elegant version. My dad just shook his head, a quiet, disappointed look in his eyes. My friend, Julian, was my silent partner. He would just sit with me, late at night, in my small apartment, and he would just watch me work. He would just be there. Clara was my constant. She was the one who brought me food. She was the one who held me when I was scared. She was the one who told me that I was a good man. What would you do in this situation? Would you give up? Would you keep going? I worked for months, pulling all-nighters, fueled by coffee and dreams. I was so sure it was going to be a success. I was so sure it was going to be a home run. I launched it, and it was another failure. A bigger one this time. The feedback was even worse. The bugs were even more numerous. My heart broke a second time. My heart broke into a million tiny pieces. I felt a strange mix of sadness and anger. I was so angry at the world. I was so angry at myself. I was so angry at my dad for being right. I was so angry at my friend for being so patient. I was so angry at Clara for believing in me. I was a broken man. I was a ghost. I was a man who had lost everything. Again, this time, the silence was deafening. My dad had a final, crushing conversation with me. He just looked at me, a quiet, tired look in his eyes. He told me that I had a good heart, a good mind, but that I was wasting my life. He told me that I needed to get a real job, to get a real life, to give up on this fantasy. His words were not angry. They were just sad. A sad, final goodbye to a dream he never believed in. Then, Clara came to see me. She was so tired. Her face was full of a quiet, gentle sadness. She just looked at me, her eyes full of a love that was gone. She told me that she loved me, but that she couldn't be with someone who had no future. She told me that she was tired of waiting. She told me that she was tired of a life that was just a series of promises that were never kept. She was not angry. She was just gone. Her goodbye was a quiet, gentle death of a love that was once my home. I was alone. Even my friend, Julian, had a heart-to-heart with me. He was so kind. His face was full of love, of understanding, of a quiet, patient wisdom. He just sat there, and he just listened. He listened to my pain. He listened to my anger. He listened to my sadness. Then, he just looked at me, a sad, quiet look in his eyes. He told me that I was a good person, a good man, a good friend. But he told me that I needed to be realistic. He told me that it was time to move on. He was not angry. He was just gone. He was my last ally. And now, he was gone too. I was alone. The silence in my apartment was deafening. The phone didn't ring. No one checked on me. I was a ghost, a quiet, invisible presence in a world that had moved on without me. I sat there, a broken man, a man who had lost everything. I was so close to giving up. I was so close to just stopping. But then, a strange shift occurred. With nothing left to lose, the fear of failure was gone. There was a freedom in knowing no one was watching. No one was expecting anything. I was at the bottom, and the only way was up. I decided to try one last time. But this time, it was for myself. Not for my father's approval. Not for my friend's respect. Not for my girlfriend's love. It was just for me. I was no longer a man with a dream. I was a man with a purpose to prove that I was more than a series of failures. I started from scratch. I changed my approach entirely. I no longer rushed. I was meticulous, calm, and focused. I spent months building a new version of the software, a simpler, more elegant, more perfect version. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't ask for help. I was alone, and in a strange way, that was my greatest strength. The work was no longer a burden. It was a new kind of freedom. It was a new kind of love. It was a new kind of home. The process was the reward. The small, daily triumphs were the victories. The feeling of fixing a bug, of writing a perfect line of code, of seeing a small part of my vision come to life, it was all a beautiful, quiet symphony of creation. I built the software. It was not about the money anymore. It was about the perfection of the craft. It was about a man who was building a life, a dream, a purpose, a home, out of the ashes of his failures. It was a beautiful, painful, quiet, perfect thing. I released it, quietly, without any fanfare. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't ask for any reviews. I just released it, and the world started to notice. The reviews were glowing. The downloads skyrocketed. The emails started to pour in. The success was a slow, steady wave, not a sudden splash. It was a new kind of success. A success that was not about a billion-dollar dream. It was about a man who had found his voice. A man who had found his purpose. A man who had found his home. The world found out. My dad saw an article about me. He called me. He just said, "I saw an article about you. I'm proud of you." His words were not a victory. They were a forgiveness. My friend, Julian, send me a text. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have believed in you." His words were not a forgiveness. They were a healing. Clara called me. She just said, "I'm so sorry. I should have waited." Her words were not a healing. They were a quiet, gentle, sad acknowledgement of a love that was gone. I had one, but I had one alone. The victory belonged to me and me alone. And in a strange way, that was the most beautiful part of the story. I was no longer a man who needed their approval. I was a man who had his own. The day everyone gave up on me was the day I started winning. The winning wasn't the money or the fame. It was the self-belief, the courage, and the freedom I found when I was truly alone. The greatest lesson in life is that the only person who needs to believe in you is you. What do you think? Do you need other people's belief to succeed? Or is your own belief enough? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this story inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe to support our channel.